In today's video I have another cassette player. This is one of the last ones lying around here, thankfully. And this one got my attention. Originally this was for sale, not working. Quite a while ago now, it's been sitting around for quite a while, but it had the fluorescent VU meters in. I thought that's kind of cool. And then I spotted this little thing where it says 3-head system. And you don't see a lot of 3-head tape decks around. And how do we get it to eject? There we go. And sure enough, you open it up and it's got this sort of weird split head arrangement. So it's really 2-head, but the main playhead's split into 2 parts. So that's kind of interesting. And it is an earlier Technics. This is quite a solid machine, M260. Is it something M260 or just an M260? RS-M260. So this is probably one of the sort of better 80s type Technics decks. I've got no idea what's wrong with it, but I know that it was meant to be not working. The screws are a bit rusty, which is not a good sign. Hopefully it's only on the outside. But this will probably be a horrible thing to work on for all I know, but it might be simple enough. I'm hoping it's not too major. It'd be interesting to get one of these going. And I always thought these 3 heads were just sort of really so you could listen to your recording as you're making it. So it's got instant like playback possibility of what you just recorded on the tape. So you could actually really listen to the level and stuff that you were recording. But supposedly these are actually also optimized as far as the head gap goes. They can, for record and playback, they actually can use different head gaps to optimize them. I think it was a smaller head gap for record or something would improve the recording. Something along those lines I read somewhere, so I thought, oh, that's interesting, maybe that's actually the case. And something I just noticed is there's a pin sticking out above the erase head, but of course that doesn't go any higher than that, I don't... Oh, does it? What have they done here? They've got like a fake capstan sticking out, but the erase head's right below it. So I don't know how that comes up. I guess the only way to see is to... I think this is a logic control type deck, or maybe not logic control, but soft touch. Got us 1st of December 1980, so this is ancient. And yeah, looking at the electronics in it, it's definitely ancient. It's got a lot of stuff in this thing. Pretty well full on. We've got a couple of NE646B Dolby ICs. In fact, have we got 4 of them? So there must be Dolby for 2. I guess if you've got 2 heads, you might need 2 sets of Dolby chips. One for record, one for playback, so that's a bit crazy. First deck I've seen with 4 Dolby chips in it. That would explain why there's so much electronics in this thing. So there's probably extra head adjustments. Although it shouldn't really be if one's more for record and one for playback. A nice big AN6870 running the fluorescent display, which is that a Targa or something? No, Futara, one or the other, made in Japan, BG52M. So I guess we should plug it in and turn it on, see what it does. Well, the deck did something. We've got our, oh, it's a nice dual colour fluorescent meter there. Don't know how well that shows up, but we've got some red bits as well as some blue bits, so that's always nice. Oh, didn't even have to press a button, it's going into place. This thing does actually run to some degree. Yeah, I'll be... what have we got? Normal tape. Oh, we've got the old ferric chrome, chromium dioxide and metal, or ferrochrome, or whatever they didn't last very long, I don't think. It might have been Sony or someone had the patent on them, I think, or something, so they never took off, or they just weren't very good. Yeah, that light comes on, Dolby on off, mic line input. Certainly feels like a nice solid one. SX head, rewind, autoplay, full auto stop. Double Dolby system. So there you go. If you ever wonder what a double Dolby is, it's when you've got it simultaneously for play and record in a 3-head machine. So that's an interesting one. I wonder if it's gonna, I can hear it making some weird noises. I don't think the deck's 100% happy. Let's try taping there. Oh, it's actually going. We've got peak level meter running. Oh, well, let's see if it puts out an audio output. Oh, that's only a recording I did on that other old, or new Sony. That seems to be running to some degree. Where's eject? I don't know how this thing goes into record. Can I make it record? Do I need to press anything with record? Oh! That erase head comes up and hits that pin, and it's on a spring, so is that meant to push against... Oh, that's a bit fancy, isn't it? The erase head lifts up and pushes against what looks like an aluminium, die-cast aluminium pin sticking out. Yeah, it's actually sprung on one side. Well, that's a new one on me. And yeah, the head looks a bit dirty or something. It's actually got metal on the side that isn't playing. Guess I should probably give all that a clean. It doesn't look the best. Ooh, something's starting to make a funny noise. That's probably why I'd end up on the junk heap. Does it just come off, or do we have to undo these things? Are they just fake? Some of these you have to undo the little metal screw. Whoop, it does come off. Just very tight. The head, I just felt it then, doesn't seem to have any wear on it, like a ridge sort of on the edges, which is not what you want with rare heads like these. The capstan's pretty dirty, at least on the edges. At least it's running, so that should make it easy to clean. You can clean the pinch roller up against it if you really want to, but it tends to start ripping bits of cotton bud off and getting jammed in there if you're not careful. I tend to just rotate them with my finger. But yeah, quite a bit of muck coming out of there. I think that motor or something's quite noisy. It stopped making a noise when I lifted it up, but the belts are surprisingly good in it, I think. I can see some gear wobbling around a bit in there. I think that's what's making that noise. There's quite a few gears. I can see another gear there running. There's a white gear in between. So she might be a bit noisy in the mech. Where are we play? Level seems to be pretty low. It's got an output level. There's always something like that tricking you. Still doesn't sound particularly great, but someone's been fiddling with the head. I thought that head sounded like the azimuth was out, and then I touched the screw and it didn't take any force to turn it, so it was loose. One good thing about tape is you can use the hiss to set the heads by getting the maximum hiss happening. It still doesn't sound 100%, I don't think, but it's not bad. Let's try a bit of quality tape. I don't think that Bryan Adams one is the best. Yeah, it's not the greatest sounding deck I've ever heard. It sounds a little slow maybe too, but I'm just looking at this set of lights. So in this mode we've got tape, so that's playback. And it looks like we've got source. We can hear it and record. What's E? Erase maybe when we're in. That's when the actual record. Don't know. I guess I should almost get a manual for this thing. Use the manual and see what the story is. So if we go to pause. Ugh. Why is that not going in? Oh, we just hit record on its own. Oh, so we've got a record light up. And we should. How do we? Oh, I wonder if can we press play. Well, that's not recording, I don't think.
Are you ready?
Ah, so we just hear a little piece of the previous recording. How cool is that? That's something you don't normally see. Oh, here. Ah, okay. So that we are actually listening to the recording automatically there, even though it doesn't say source, but maybe we can switch. No. Let's play a CD. Very little change between tape and source. I hope it's recording that well, because that'll be impressive. It actually sounds quite good, that recording, if it plays back like that again. Probably recorded it a bit quiet, but yeah, that sounds surprisingly good. Maybe that recording on the CD just isn't that great, because it is quite an old album, that, but yeah, not bad. It actually sounds better when I turn the level up a bit more too, probably helping it record better onto the tape. The mic's still making a couple of noises. This thing actually works largely. Amazing. Yeah, you can definitely hear a slight difference. Might get a more modern CD, because that Rocksteady Crew, I don't think that was ever the highest hi-fi quality on earth. I'll try a bit more modern trance or something and see some really good highs in it. Okay, I found a chrome tape. I might try that out, and that shouldn't be as beaten up as my old test tape. So I want chromium. It's not that great, I don't think. I actually don't know if it's as good as the normal tape. Yeah, it just sounds better there, I think. Yeah, definitely not as good as the original. I would have thought chrome would sound a fair bit better, but it was only marginal, I think, really. Yeah, I think the Dolby, the highs definitely got slightly better when the Dolby came on. That's interesting, because it sounds terrible on playback, even on this recording. But putting it on record definitely does seem to work as far as making the highs a bit better. I seem to remember using metal and chrome tapes and actually using Dolby B or C on it, off CD, and they were quite good. So this kind of proves it, like you can just hear slightly more high frequency. Once that Dolby noise reduction's clicked in, you can definitely hear a transition there, even though there's no like click or anything when the switch is pressed, but there's definitely, it's actually slightly after the counter when I press 0 by the look of it, so that seems to make a slight improvement. So I think I might have to try this on some really good speakers, because these ones are not the greatest, but you can still hear the difference. Try them on my Tandy Mark IIs with some better tweeters than they originally had, which really brings the highs out nicely. I guess what I should do is actually set up the azimuth on this thing correctly, because I've just tweaked it by ear. And I guess we should check the speed of this thing. Actually, I can pull the cable out and shove it in the frequency meter, except I stole all the adapters, didn't I? Yeah, it's actually quite a good sounding deck, besides a few weird odd mechanical noises. Actually seems to work quite well, now that I've tweaked the head anyway. I did wonder if it's a bit low. This is saying it's only running at 900 Hertz. It looks like someone's been in this motor at some stage. Now of course they've got probably a live mains fuse. It is always something like that in these things. I'll see if I can get a screwdriver in here without electrocuting myself or blowing anything up. But it did sound a little slow to me. I wouldn't have thought it was that much out, but maybe that isn't that noticeable. Oh, it's taking a lot of turning to get it up. Oh, there we go. Oh, right on. 999. Oh, now it's gone up to 1003, 1001, 1002. That's close enough, I think. I think that John Farnham tape actually sounded a tad slow.
The sun and the season. Another day.
So I guess the other thing I really want to do is hook it to the oscilloscope, because if you get the two waveforms on the two channels to line up like I showed in the original how to repair cassette decks video, we want dual, then that's the best way to do it. You can always get it better by eye than what you can hear with your ears. Probably won't be far out. I'm usually pretty good at getting them right, but it's always nice to get a visual confirmation that you... Yeah, we better set both inputs the same voltage level. And spread them out a bit. Oh, they're about out a bit. And there's definitely a level difference there. So that's the signal coming out. One channel's a bit higher than the other, and the azimuth's definitely out a bit. Let's see if we can get that better. Try and get those two waveforms. God, is it that far out? Wouldn't have thought so, but there you go. You can't always tell with your ears 100%. That actually moved a bit when I moved the tape deck around. Or was it something else? You've got a lot of jitter there. Bias adjustments, left record levels, metal something, record playback. That's one of them, going a bit higher. Let's see that go right down. So we're tweaking that one. They're pretty close. It looks like the azimuth has gotten out a bit. Very hard to tell which one's which sometimes. We may have to get the position of the oscilloscope waveforms. That one says that's close, but now the azimuth has gone out. Amazing. Or maybe it's just showing up more. For some reason when I lift the deck up, things move. So it needed to turn even a bit more that way. We can always go down another division or so. Make it a bit easier to see. But yeah, a lot of jittery stuff. Yeah, that's what it looks like on a Q review. So that may get it even better. Oh, you can see the could have zeroed them, I guess. Should have put them right on top of each other without a signal, I guess. But yeah, look at that's what you want, roughly the two things meshing into one. Even with a bit of jitter and stuff. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I don't think we can get it much better than that. Be interested to see with an ear test how that sounds. Still not as good as the original, but not bad. But I think I'm going to take that and actually have a listen to it on some decent speakers out of interest. But I'm kind of shocked that this thing isn't in need of belts and stuff. It's been sitting here for ages. Assuming it's going to be a major job to fix it, and there's nothing really wrong with it. Hang on, that door hasn't gone on properly, I don't think. No. That's a bit tight, that one. But yeah, it's making a few weird noises. Maybe the deck wants pulling to bits. But I don't know if there's much I can do about it. Anyway, well, that's a surprisingly good tape deck. So I might take that, give it a listen, and I'll get back to see what I do with it. I'll probably make another video of some peak level meter as well, with a nice dual colour fluorescent for a change. Well, giving this thing a bit of a run. You can actually, I've just got this hooked up. Turns out this one, it's not a very bright display for some reason, but you can hook this one up and just have the tape monitor press there, and you can use it as a VU meter. Basically, it will run just off the line level signal, so I don't have to force it into record mode like with that Akai thing, which I still use as a VU meter. And this has got a nicer VU meter. Looks alright in the dark at night, but it's quite a bit dimmer than the Akai for some reason. Not sure if it's made that way or something's worn out there. Not sure I'm gonna have too much of a look at it at the moment. It could be either the display's getting old and worn out, maybe it was always dim like that. It's probably about right, to be honest, what you'd maybe expect it to be. They didn't want it overly bright. Could possibly be capacitors or something in there, but I doubt it. I gave the thing a run on tape, and yeah, I'm never going back to listen to tape again. It was interesting to have a bit of a listen, but the quality really isn't there. You know, it's probably in some ways better than I remember it, but in other ways it's just not as good as CD or MP3 or any of it really. So, and as well as all the hassle of the inaccessibility problems, whereas, you know, using a music player like iTunes, you can just search and find any track you want, play it instantly, flick between them. So I think this thing really is just going to be relegated to a VU meter. I will get some footage of it sometime and put up a little video of that. It looks pretty cool at night, being a dual colour one, and a lot of little bars on there, even though they sort of go in groups of 3 or so, I think. So it looks a little bit better than the Akai in some ways. It's just a bit dimmer. If it was a little bit brighter, it would have been nice. And I guess I might as well take that tape out of it. It seemed to be running fine. Still makes the odd, oh, there goes a funny noise. Makes it a little bit more noise than it should. Something's a little rattly in there. I can still hear it going. I'd say something's not perfect, but I don't think this one for now I'll bother pulling it to bits. I think this one can be either used as a VU meter or put back into storage for now. It is quite a nice VU, so I might even sit it up on top of the Akai one and just have both of them sitting there as VU meters, and that's about it, I think. But yeah, quite a fancy deck. Interesting to finally play around with a 3-headed one. I have seen ones occasionally, but yeah, they were pretty rare to see. Most people just bought your standard basic deck and that was it. There's only real hi-fi buffs used to buy these, and most of them were like good brands like this, so you didn't really see them for repair because they were good quality like Technics and just kept going. But anyway, we'll retire this one for now. Maybe one day I'll pull the whole thing to bits and have a look at the mech, but it looks like it's a fairly big job, and if I'm not going to use this thing, then I don't think there's much point at the moment. So thanks for watching.